Hey guys, check it out. You're watching Jonathan Clarke on YouTube. Oh no! This really is the most fun that I've had in my entire life, having the honor of commentating on Descendants and Zombies for each and every one of you, where I think the plot is headed, what I think will happen next for all of us as Descendants and Zombies fans. I think we have every reason in the world to be excited about the upcoming Descendants 5, Wicked Wonderland, because of all the new characters that we'll see introduced into the franchise for the very first time ever. I'm really excited to meet Red Sister Pink, played by Liamani Segura. I have to be honest with each and every one of you because of all the reviews that I've read about her, I've seen about her online, all the criticism that she's been receiving so early on. Can we please give her a chance? I'm looking forward to meeting her next summer. I'm also looking forward to Zombies 5 because I really do believe that Zombies 5 will happen, apart from every other critic on YouTube that you may have watched or seen talking about it, saying they need to stop making zombies movies because they're wondering what the supernatural creature will be by the time we get to Zombies 5, which isn't suggested to happen until 2028. That's what the release window is suggesting. But I, for one, believe that there are so many supernatural creatures that could be inside of that vortex, perhaps even anything we haven't talked about yet, like trolls, goblins, witches, sirens, mermaids have made their way into the discussion. I think that's the most popular one, the thought of mermaids seeing their introduction into the Zombies franchise. And if Milo Manheim's teaser that he dropped weeks after Zombies 4's production had wrapped was any indication, and he knows because he's one of the executive producers alongside Meg Donnelly, he teased that mermaids could see their introduction into the Zombies franchise, so he kind of gave it away. So if one supernatural creature is seen in this, it will be mermaids, and I, for one, am really excited about it. I'm not just saying this because I've lived on an island where a lot of tales about mermaids have been told, that have been seen, and people have encountered mermaids on boating expeditions on this island that I live on. I'm saying it because I'm really excited about it because I think mermaids are just beautiful creatures that are never given enough credit for how beautiful they actually are and how smart they are. I think their cunning ability, I think that how smart they are will really light the screen up for zombies in a way that no other supernatural creature has been able to do. I mean, the Daywalkers and the Nightwalkers in the Dawn of the Vampires movie was one way of looking at it, introducing vampires into the franchise. But I think a lot of people were expecting more out of the vampires being introduced into the franchise and a more significant plot than what we saw. The plot was better by far from any other zombies movie that we had seen going into it, but I think a lot of people were expecting to see more out of the vampires being introduced into the franchise. It wasn't about sucking your blood. It wasn't about nighttime excursions. It wasn't about, outlasting everything. It was about just a confliction about a blood fruit. So I think that really didn't make a whole lot of sense to a lot of people, and I think they were expecting more out of it. But what made up for that, though, was the romance between Zed and Addison being looked at in such a way that they were almost going to get married. They exchanged marriage vows on top of a hill. That was absolutely beautiful at the end of the movie. And I thought that really, highlighted just how important those two characters had meant to the franchise and how much they contributed to the franchise from the very beginning. I mean, you flash back to February 16th, 2018, just a couple of days after Valentine's Day. And this was the perfect Valentine's Day movie to kind of get you into the mood about how a girl could fall in love with a zombie and stand the test of time. And they really did. They have lasted throughout the annals of time. And if there was one Disney couple that became my favorite, it was Zed and Addison, I'm not going to lie. As much as I've had the biggest crush in the world on Meg Donnelly for forever, and I haven't lied or denied that, I think that Zed and Addison are the most adorable Disney couple since Gabriela Montez and Troy Bolton from High School Musical fame, Zac Efron and Vanessa Hudgens. And it's been years since we've seen a couple actually steal our hearts like them. I mean, Mal and Ben is one way of looking at it, but Mal and Ben's relationship sometimes was very complicated because to me the chemistry just wasn't there between Mal and Ben, Dove Cameron and Mitchell Hope. As much as they offered to the Descendants franchise on their own, together they just didn't make a whole lot of sense to me. And I think Dove Cameron would have worked with a better person than what Mitchell Hope ever was. There was just something about that guy that I never liked. Dove Cameron was having said that though, Dove Cameron's portrayal of Mel was a very, very powerful one. And I think that nobody could have done a better job portraying Mel like Dove Cameron did. She was able to put it off in such a way that she made you believe everything she was saying. She made you believe that happily ever after had a chance of existing and one could find their true love. And that's where people drew inspiration from the Descendants characters, was that anything was possible. And every dream that you have can become a reality for you, regardless of what that dream is. That's what I've been saying forever on this show. After I moved into this house, which I know is near a soda plantation and a chemical plant, all I ever wanted to do was spread a message of kindness through the power of this YouTube channel, and I was able to do that, but I couldn't have done that without your guys' help and you guys always subscribing and hitting the like buttons. Because I'm here to tell you that while other critics will try to tear down your hopes and dreams of Descendants and Zombies going further than what it already has, that it will. because Descendants of Zombies is one of the most revered franchises of all time because of how powerful the message of acceptance was, how powerful the message of how one can find their true love is actually a reality that seems very far away on times, but is actually closer to being obtained than you may realize, because sometimes true love has this way of sneaking up from behind you. You know, all of my lifetime I've been involved in these very complicated relationships. I'm not going to lie about that. But I knew that I had each and every one of you to help me through it, because I knew I had this show to talk about Descendants of Zombies on, and with how difficult my life was on times, this was the one niche that I knew I could talk to. I knew I could tell you my opinion on Descendants of Zombies. I could share that with you, and we would have a mutual understanding of the passion that brought us all together. And that's why this YouTube channel is the most popular Descendants of Zombies YouTube channel on the internet. I am forever grateful, eternally grateful for all of you being here and never having left me when you could have, because when you could have quit on me, you chose to stay here. And I got that from the very first subscribers that have first subscribed to this YouTube channel. Within the first 150 subscribers this YouTube channel attracted, and now we're up to almost 3,000 subscribers with over 2,000 watch hours, which I can't even believe. I say this because I don't really deserve 2,000 watch hours. I never ever thought this YouTube channel would see 1,000 watch hours, much less 2,000, and 3,000 subscribers. I never ever thought I'd get to this point, because I can remember a time when this YouTube channel had 5 subscribers. That's all I had. And I didn't think anyone was going to hear my voice, because one of the most challenging things for a podcast host to have is someone to hear his voice. And I really took a shot on Descendants and Zombies. I didn't know the response I was going to receive from my opinions on Descendants and Zombies, but I wanted to separate my commentaries on Descendants and Zombies from everybody else out there, because a lot of people were just criticizing the franchise when they had no business or no place criticizing it, because they didn't want to give it much of a chance. I don't know if it had something to do with jealousy or some insecurity they may have been dealing with from day in and day out of their own life, and they made themselves feel better by talking about Descendants and Zombies in such a negative light. But I really wanted to give the spotlight to these stars, because they deserve that spotlight. When you have people getting up at 4:30 a.m. in the morning and rehearsing these dance numbers and rehearsing the script, the rehearsal times were ridiculous, from 4:30 a.m. up until 10 o'clock every night. That's insane. And they really brought the best out of not only themselves, but they brought the best out of everybody they work with. I mean, Freya Sky is 15 years old, and she is amazing. Her music, Don't Fake It, and another song called Gold Is Gone, beautiful songs off of her EP. Of course, it was recorded around the same time Zombies was receiving its PR, and she also got to promote her EP along with Zombies, so she had a lot going on. But she was able to juggle it all, and she was also able to be there for each and every one of you. She always showed up at the PR so happy to be there. She was so obliging to every reporter who asked her a question, no matter what that question was, and she always provided them with an answer. She never shied away from answering questions. Dove Cameron wouldn't shy away from answering questions until later on in life. She would kind of just, refrain from answering certain questions about Descendants of Zombies, because Disney at the time didn't want to, leak anything about scenes or the plot. So Dove Cameron, and pretty much of her own life, Dove Cameron just kept everything so personal. But I think these stars came into this new franchise of Descendants of Zombies with such an open heart and an open mind, and they've never covered anything up. They've never tried to hide anything. I know Disney has certain restrictions they have to oblige by, but I think what really needs to happen here for the Descendants of Zombie stars is more creative freedom. Because if you give someone creative direction and give them the opportunity to actually separate their characters with different character traits and have them have an input with the Descendants of Zombies franchise, I think this franchise still has a long way to go, and it can get there if you actually trust your stars with creative freedom, because a lot of them are smarter than they're ever given credit for. Like Freya Sky, for example. I mean, nobody ever thought she'd be a beautiful character, Nova, who was so athletic and so fearless about everything. She just stood up and looked adversity in the face and said, "You're not going to get the better of me." And I think that was a real exemplification of just how far someone's dedication to what they believe in can really take them. And I think a lot of people are drawing inspiration from some of these Descendants and Zombies characters like Nova because of how fearless she was, because more people now are more courageous than ever before, standing up for what they believe in, joining sports teams, trying out for different things they never ever tried before, instead of just staying in a corner and not being noticed. Because I think there are a lot of people in this world that don't really have enough courage to really stand out amongst their peers, because of their peers may feel about them or the response they may receive. But I've seen so many beautiful stories about people that become friends over Descendants and Zombies. I've witnessed this with my own two eyes. I know a group of girls actually 15 years ago who are still friends to this very day because they bonded over Descendants and Zombies. They're like 25 now. So it goes without saying that Descendants and Zombies has had a profound impact on all of our hearts. No matter if you drew inspiration to join a sports team, no matter if you drew inspiration to find true love and believed that one day you would find it. Even if you haven't found it yet, somewhere out there, someone is out there waiting for you. And you got to trust me on that, because your heart is your best friend. And that's what Descendants of Zombies has always taught us, is that our heart is our best friend, and that time is the precious commodity, because time really is the most precious commodity. Why? Because it always runs out. And we got that from the Rise of Red plot, with the significance of time travel and the consequences that Red and Chloe will face now in the up-and-coming Descendants 5 Wicked Wonderland, which is a title I dearly love. I never ever thought we'd get to this point with Descendants. A lot of people thought going into the Rise of Red, the spin-off will be just a one-hit wonder, which is just basically one installment and one story told and completed. But the way I always perceived it was, you got to take a chance on stuff and really give it time to evolve. And I've always believed that you just can't tell a story in 90 minutes and complete it, because there are so many characters that have been left out of this franchise who have yet to see their introduction, with the up-and-coming introductions of characters from Encanto and Princess and the Frog, which were musicals I dearly loved all the way back in 2011. The Princess and the Frog was based off the New Orleans musical, and I remember how big of a musical release that was for Disney. The first African-American princess, Tiana, was emphasized on, and that was beautiful. Moana in later years. So I think that a lot of people drew inspiration from The Princess and the Frog and Encanto, and that's the reason why these characters are in Descendants. Now, I know to a lot of people, seeing characters from Encanto with how relatively new it is and Princess and the Frog doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But it will over time, because you will see the significance. And as these characters continue to expand off their horizons, I think the best of their abilities is yet to be recognized, and we will see that through Descendants. It's beyond me why people refer to Descendants as an indie film. Even Kylie Control herself has referred to Descendants as an indie film. And it got me to thinking about how much of an opportunity Descendants actually was for Kylie Control, and how bad she wanted this opportunity. I mean, at 9 years old, she used to sit at home in her bedroom and watch Descendants and dream of being the lead in Descendants. And now, about 10 years later, Kylie Control finally has donned the role of Red, and now is seeing the best of her ability come front and center with this Red character. She's so strong, she's so fearless, she sees a point in everything that she does, and I think more people than ever before are drawing inspiration from this Red character, and ultimately Red became one of the most favorite characters of the Descendants franchise in its entirety. I remember years ago when everybody thought that Mel was the best Descendants character and she was the most popular. Statistically, I looked it up online, and I read down through the most popular Descendants characters of all time. Number 1 is Mel, number 2 is Evie, your obvious choices. But I think Red is slowly but surely going to move into the number 1 position, because of the dedication that we've seen from her with the PR. She always shows up at the D23 convention to promote Descendants. And the thing is, if you're the lead of a franchise such as Descendants, you really have to present yourself for a meaningful audience and in a meaningful way. Because if the audience doesn't love you, they're going to let you know about it. And if the audience loves you, they're also going to let you know about it. It works both ways. I've seen so many people crash and burn for some of the most successful stage productions of all time, because they thought, really highly of themselves. And I think Dove Cameron and Sophia Carson pretty much got to a point where they realized they were superstars, and they didn't need the Descendants audience as much as what they needed them. But the reality of this is, and that's why they parted ways with it, because they wanted to embark on other ventures, but the reality of this is, the Descendants audience is far more intelligent than they're ever given credit for. And if they love you, they're going to let you know about it. And if they don't love you, they're also going to let you know about it. And I think that's also where a lot of the criticism came from, is because a lot of people were expecting to get more out of stuff like Zombies and The Rise of Red, but I chose to say everything good about it and see the good in it, because that's what I do. I don't want to come on here and criticize Descendants and Zombies for no particular reason. If I'm going to talk about Descendants and Zombies, I'm going to showcase it for what it is. A cast full of talent, one of the most successful casts since the cast Victorious from Nickelodeon fame back in 2010. I remember how fond I was of the Victorious cast and how they were so talented. You had Victoria Justice, you had Ariana Grande, who were breakout stars, and Ariana Grande was destined for greatness from the very first moment I laid eyes on her. And I remember her on the Broadway musical The Lion King, ever before she was a part of the cast of Victorious. Victorious was her first major role, and she really brought the best of the Cat Valentine. I mean, so many characters on that show had so many great character traits that made them some of the greatest characters of all time and some of the most revered. And now Descendants, I think, has really taken over as the top franchise for any fan of Disney or Nickelodeon, because everybody is discussing about it, everybody is making their predictions for Descendants 5 Wicked Wonderland, and I'm really excited to see where we go from here, because some of your predictions about what's going to happen, about how Red and Chloe are apparently going to hit it off, have a baby possibly, how Red's going to have a sister that's going to present a lot of conflict in the franchise as the new villain. Who is the new villain is still being debated, because we have yet to reveal who is the new villain in this, because it's no longer the Queen of Hearts, because she's apparently good now off the consequences of time travel, which is going to be very different seeing Rita Ora portray a good character and a good Queen of Hearts, because for all my life, I could never remember a point in time where the Queen of Hearts actually transitioned from evil into good. She was always this really annoying character that got on everybody's nerves, and she was created to get on all of our nerves, kind of like Hades was from Hercules fame back in 1997. I think every Disney villain who was created fulfilled their purpose, and definitely the Queen of Hearts did that, but she ultimately became the most revered and most annoying Disney villain of all time. Nobody could ever stand her. And I kind of concur with that, because I remember watching Alice in Wonderland when I was really young, probably about 5, 6 years old, and it was one of the first Disney classics that I remember watching. And I remember how annoying she was, and I just could never stand her, and I could never make sense to that character. So I think that Rita Ora's portrayal definitely presented a different kind of vibe, and I think that people like Kylie Cantrell and Ruby Rose Turner and Mila Baker just learned from that, and that's why they consider it to be such a huge honor to work with legends like Brandy and Rita Ora, which I can only imagine what it's like, because I remember seeing the original Cinderella classic from 1997 and seeing the original Prince Charming and Cinderella portrayed by Brandy coming back to reprise their roles for a classic like Descendants, an instant classic, was a huge honor for me, and having the chance to cover it, I will never ever forget it. If there's one movie that I watched 100 times since its release, it's definitely Descendants. So in turn, I know everything there is to know about it. I think there's a better appreciation for Descendants and Zombies that can be given and showed to it, as opposed to people who create these reaction videos about Descendants and Zombies all the time and will never ever say anything good about it. They'll just say something negative about it because they want to get on everybody's nerves. And if you have one last nerve, there's no better way to get on than to be criticizing Descendants and Zombies. I want to put it out there that this YouTube channel will forever and always be here for the people who have loved Descendants and Zombies for forever and always. Because I think that if you're going to talk about Descendants and Zombies, you have to talk about it for what it is. It's a movie that represented second chances. It's a movie, more importantly, that represented hope. And hope for a lot of people in so many unbelievable ways, because Red always wanted to aspire to be something ultimately far greater than what her mother ever wanted her to be. And she had that chance through meeting Chloe Charming, of course Mila Baker's character, and the two of them hit it off instantly. And the thing about it was so challenging to make it believable that they actually hated each other for specific times and scenes through the time travel that was seen in Descendants, because they loved each other so much, and there were times they actually cried when they had to be mean to each other because they found it incredibly difficult. And then on the other hand, you had Ruby Rose Turner seeing her introduction into the Descendants franchise for the very first time, and she was just so genuinely kind. I don't think there's any other way Ruby knows how to be than genuinely kind. Oftentimes you'll hear me say how I wish Ruby was here every night of my life to help me make sense of it by building game chairs and playing video games with me, because I fell in love with Ruby instantly, and she ultimately became my favorite Descendants character, and that's why I theme a lot of my videos on this YouTube channel around Ruby Rose Turner, because I think never enough good things can be said about Ruby. And I, for one, believe that we have seen anything but the last of Ruby's time with the Descendants franchise. I don't care how many times she goes on social media and says she's parted ways with the franchise because her time with Descendants is, overlaps. It's anything but overlaps. It's anything but over. And by the time Descendants 6 happens, we could see a reemergence of Ruby's character, because being a part of Descendants, I honestly believe, meant so much to Ruby Rose Turner, just as it meant to you being a fan of the Descendants franchise, which is why I kind of wanted to take away these criticizing reviews and this constructive criticism that people have been offering you about Descendants for far long enough now. If somebody is going to say something about Descendants and Zombies, they should make a point to say something nice about it. I know everybody chose Bridget as their favorite character from The Rise of Red because of how full of life she was, how exuberant she was, how she exemplified so much kindness. And I, for one, believe she inspired me to become a better person with my opinions, with my commentaries, the way I present these videos, because if not for Ruby Rose Turner, I probably would still be lost. Without any of you and your sense of direction, I probably would be lost, because I was talking about a lot of stuff on the radio years ago and on YouTube for different niches that didn't make a whole lot of sense to a lot of people. And I was headed in a direction I was uncertain of. But now, I know I'm headed in a direction where I will go down for being one of the greatest of all time, or at least I can only hope that I will go down in history for being one of the greatest of all time because of each and every one of you. Your amount of love and support that you have shown this YouTube channel, I wouldn't be here if not for each and every one of you. And I just simply want to say thank you so much for always being there for me when I thought I had nobody. I knew I had the Descendants and Zombies fans. And that's the thing that I think every YouTuber out there should take the time to realize, is just how appreciative you guys are of the people who create this content for you, because sometimes people just go above and beyond the requirements of a YouTube creator to criticize it. But the thing is that they have to realize, and sometimes they fail realizing, is that you guys are just incredibly supportive of the people that you love so much. And I'm just fortunate enough to be one of them, and I'm fortunate enough to be your voice of Descendants and Zombies to help you make sense of this. No matter if you're talking about Descendants, you're talking about Zombies, I will always and forever be here for each and every one of you. Every day on this island since I moved into this house and started this show is a beautiful day, with rare exceptions to be made with the weather. It is a beautiful place here, and this island really reminds me of Oregon for just how beautiful the scenery is here, how beautiful the people can be on times, because I often believe there are never enough kind people seen in this world, and you guys have helped me realize that there are kind people out there. They do exist. And I just want to say thank you so much for showing up every single time that you do, always coming out in support of Descendants and Zombies the way that you have ever since you heard about Descendants and Zombies and it debuted in 2015. I remember watching the very first Descendants and being blown away by the message of it. I remember being blown away by the characters. I remember the stunning gowns that Dove Cameron and Sophia Carson donned. And I never ever thought 15 years later I'd be sitting here on this podcast talking about Descendants and Zombies with such profound passion for it, a newfound passion, because podcasting was always something I wanted to do. But one of the greatest fears I had being a podcaster was that I would eventually just fade off into obscurity and I would be forgotten about. But because of each and every one of you, I was able to have my voice heard again. I was given a second chance to be a host of a show that I dearly love. Because there's no place in the world I would rather be this evening than sitting right here talking about Descendants and Zombies and providing you commentary on the franchises that you love so much, that's brought you so much closer together with your friends and your family. Because people watch this as a family, people watch this together with their friends, they share their opinions on Descendants and Zombies and what they think is going to happen next. For instance, what is inside of that vortex? We don't know what's inside of that vortex at this point. You know, we can make our predictions about mermaids, pirates, sirens, witches. Everything has been discussed. By the time this movie comes out, a lot of people will be teenagers, but I think they'll be even more in love with the Descendants and Zombies franchises. I know I will be, because that passion for me has existed ever since I was 25 years old, because Descendants debuted around the time I was 24, 25, and I was kind of feeling really lost, but Descendants and Zombies gave me purpose, because it gave me a whole new audience, and it gave me the opportunity to meet each and every one of you. So because I found incentive through creating Descendants and Zombies videos, that's why I'm here. And that's why you're here, because you found my video, you clicked on my thumbnail, and you took a chance on me, if you, in fact, you did subscribe to this YouTube channel. Because the amazing thing about the Descendants and Zombies fans is they will love you unconditionally for forever. And I think that's what a lot of podcast hosts need to realize. When you're sitting in front of your microphone and you're talking about Descendants and Zombies and you turn on your camera, you've really got to show up, and you've really got to talk about Descendants and Zombies in a way that's meaningful to everybody who was a fan of Descendants and Zombies, because believe you me, they know everything there is to know about Descendants and Zombies, and if you say anything politically wrong about Descendants and Zombies or even incorrect, they're going to let you know about it, because Descendants and Zombies fans are incredibly loyal to who and what they believe in, and they will protect you like a shield. When I was faced with so much criticism from some of my past videos and the niches I was providing commentary with, before I fell into this Descendants and Zombies niche, I had nobody, and now these girls are shields, and they are protecting me against all the criticism that I am receiving, and they have loved me ever since, and they're not going anywhere, because they love Descendants and Zombies so much, and they love the people who create these videos for them. But I find there's never enough in the way of Descendants and Zombies videos on YouTube and Google Video, because nobody goes out of their way to create as many Descendants and Zombies videos anymore. The PR was fabulous. People could have criticized the PR if they even wanted to go as far as that. But I give you my word that if nobody else is going to do this gig for you, I will gladly do it for you, because I think you've deserved far better than what you've been hearing for a very long time, and I just wanted to be that guy to show up and give it to you in a way it was meant to be talked about and criticized for, and reviewed, I should say, for a very long time. Because a lot of people really don't go out of their way to do it anymore, and I just wanted to be one of those guys to do that in a way that it was meant to be done for a very long time, because I think a lot of people just don't realize or appreciate the value that goes with talking about Descendants and Zombies. So I will be back tomorrow morning as early as 8:35 a.m. and 9:05 a.m. tomorrow morning with another great video on either Descendants or Zombies, or possibly both, and I invite you to join me for that. The way this YouTube channel works is every day there's at least one Descendants and Zombies video uploaded, and the videos recently are getting a lot of great views. Over 52,000 views have come in on this YouTube channel as of today, as of this afternoon, and I can't thank you enough for that, because without you, this show cannot exist. This show cannot happen. I can't believe that over 2,000 plus watch hours, something like 2,800 watch hours, have happened for this YouTube channel. 52,000 views and almost 3,000 subscribers. Just under 200 plus more subscribers, and we'll finally hit 3,000. And thank you guys so much for that. It's only been a year this YouTube channel has been around. This is the newest niche that I've fallen in love with and found time and appreciating. And honestly, there is no place in the world I would rather be than having the honor to sit behind this podcast microphone to have talked about Descendants and Zombies for the last 10 years. It's been an incredible 10-year journey that you girls have got me on, and I have a lot to say where Descendants and Zombies goes, and I have never felt so appreciative or appreciated by Anish as much as what I have Descendants and Zombies. Thank you guys so much for being so kind to me, opening up your hearts to me, and making me the voice of Descendants and Zombies, because this is the greatest honor of my life. You have to believe me. Having said that, be kind to one another, everybody, because kindness really does go a long way in this world. We will talk again tomorrow morning as early as 8:35 a.m. and 9:05 a.m. tomorrow morning with my first video on Descendants and Zombies. Have a good night, everybody. Stay safe, and we will talk again tomorrow morning. Until then, be kind to one another. Bye, YouTube, and we will talk again tomorrow morning with another video on Descendants and Zombies.